All right, guys, mid-July. We're all thinking giant bucks, right? Velvet pictures, social media, you're seeing these giant bucks. People doing food plots. I don't know about you guys, but that's all I got on my mind right now. So how can you up your chances to take down that big buck this year? Habitat improvements, food plots, web class, whitetail land consultant. I'm not trying to sell you any of that stuff. I'm gonna go over 3 things that's gonna help you take down the biggest buck in your area, whether it's a 100-inch deer or a 200-inch deer. And we're gonna go over them. Doesn't cost you a thing. I'm not trying to sell you nothing. 3 things that have helped me be successful last 3 seasons to take down some great bucks. And I'm walking because the mosquitoes are horrible. The rain's been good for the crops, as you can see. We're here mid-July. Corn's quite a bit taller than me. So let's get to it, guys. Top 3 ways take down big bucks. All right, guys, welcome back to Nate's Bow Hunting, where if you're serious about taking down big bucks, doing everything you can, learning everything you can, habitat improvements, food plots, obsessive about taking down big bucks like me, this is the channel for you. I'm not trying to sell you a food plot seed. I'm not trying to sell you my web class. I'm not trying to sell you my land consultation service for thousands of dollars to come out to your land to tell you where to put food plots. I'm giving you guys free advice how to take down the biggest buck in your area, whether you're after a 100-inch buck or a 200-inch buck. What has worked for me, I've had to find out the hard way. My first couple of years, you know, I blew a lot of seasons. But these 3 things you can do, they don't cost you nothing. It's just hunting techniques and strategies that I've learned, that other big buck killers have learned, that help them take down big deer every year, where you don't have to have thousands of acres, 10 different farms you hunt like some of these guys, you know, in Iowa. I'm in Wisconsin. So thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. Top 3 ways you can take down bigger bucks this year. Here we go. And right behind me, this is gonna help right here, the corn. All right, guys. If you love chasing big bucks, this is the channel for you. I don't own hundreds of thousands of acres. I didn't move out to Iowa. I hunt 2 small family farms here in Wisconsin. Follow along as we go over food plots and hunting strategies to take down the biggest buck in your neighborhood. So obviously the habitat work, you can see I got some apple trees. I got 20 apple trees in here. Got corn. I got soybeans. I do the food plots. I plant the trees. I do all the habitat work, guys. But I'm going over 3 things. It don't cost you anything. It's just knowledge you need to know to up your chances. I wish I would have known years ago, because I could have taken down some real giant bucks, but I wasn't hunting smart, wasn't hunting right, and that's what I'm gonna go over. So let's get to number 1. And number 1 on this list, I'm walking right down a runway. I should say for the deer, you should see this as like a buck freeway, come pre-rut. Always leave a trail along the edge of your corn. Got big corn bedding on this side. But number 1 on the list, top way to take down more bucks, top way to take down the biggest buck in your area this year is hunting the peak rut days. In my opinion, this is the number 1 most important thing you can do to help you take down that biggest buck in your area, whatever you're after, age class or inches wise. If you were to ask me if I could hunt 5 days out of the year, our bow season in Wisconsin runs September through January. I would hunt 5 days of my choice out of the year versus hunting the whole season. Here in Wisconsin, I would take October 28th through November 2nd. It has proved to me year and year over. I've shot some of my biggest deer, seen some of my biggest deer, had a opportunity at an absolute freak giant this year, November 2nd. Oh, sorry, the mosquitoes are horrendous back here. All the rain is good for the crops, but the mosquitoes are horrible. So that's why I'm walking and filming. I'm not standing in one spot. When you get into October and you got a good cold front in October and you got a buck on camera that's daylighting or real close to daylight, you need to get out after him. You get towards the end of October here in Wisconsin, like, all depends where you're located, but here in the Midwest, you get towards that October 21st time frame, you got to get in the tree, especially a cold front. And let your cameras tell you. If you use, I use cell cameras, I love them, awesome tool if they're legal where you hunt. Let your cameras tell you, if you think that buck's gonna daylight that first time, you need to get in a tree. And obviously those first 2 weeks in November here, even up to about November 16th, I consider in Wisconsin, you can have bucks moving anytime. That's where you got to dive all in. You know, I play her a little more safe in October, but you get in that peak rut in November, you got to be out there as much as you can, whether you plan your vacation days then, call in sick to work, sweet talk your wife, girlfriend, whatever you got to do. You got to sit full days those first 2 weeks in November. So that, hands down, you can do food plots, you can buy farms in Iowa, you can do whatever you want. But if you don't hunt those peak days, you're not going to kill the biggest buck in your area. At least your chances are going to be very, very slim. Single-handedly, most important thing, hunting those peak days. Let's get to number 2. Number 2 on the list is going to be stand placement and access. They go hand in hand. Stand placement, access. I know it's 2 things, but they go hand in hand. So you need to put your stands where you can access them and get out of them in the evening, where you're not blowing deer out all the time. And you know, I know some guys myself, oh, I just blow out some does or young buck, oh, it don't matter. At least I didn't blow out that big buck. Well, I got news for you. If you're blowing out your does and they're onto you, and the small bucks are onto you, I guarantee you those big bucks are onto you. They probably didn't even see the big buck. He probably smelt them or was watching the young bucks or the does back in the thick cover yet, and he seen they were on alert, or they were spooked, or they were blowing, and that hunter didn't even get their eyes on that big buck. So I was guilty of this myself. You don't put your stand right in the middle of your food plot or right on a main trail or 5 yards off a main trail, or where you get a picture of a giant buck. Hey, I got a picture of a giant buck there, I gotta put a stand there next year. And trust me, I did all this stuff. It's kind of an all or nothing. You might get lucky your first sit on that and you might kill him, but guess what? If you don't kill him that first sit, you're in trouble. Because those bucks, I'm a firm believer, those mature deer, they're different than does and young bucks. They will go in an area at nighttime and they will scent check. And if they smell human, guess what? They might still come to that ag field or that trail or that little food plot you're hunting. At night, you'll still get pictures of them. But they sure as heck ain't gonna trust that spot in daylight. I think those bigger deer, last 2 years, 2 of the bucks I shot, I had the night before on camera. And they were scent checking does and for any danger, whether it's dogs, wolves, humans. And if they know that spot's safe at nighttime, they're gonna trust it during the day. So you gotta get those stands in locations, you know, 20, 30 yards. I'm comfortable shooting up to 40, even 50 yards. It's how much you practice, what you're comfortable. If you're only comfortable shooting up to 25, 30, like a lot of guys, get your stand 25, 30 off that main trail if you're hunting a main trail. Or if you're hunting a food plot, just have the screening and the cover. Don't hunt right on top of the food plot unless you got real good screening where you can get in and out without blowing out deer. Don't blow out any does, don't blow out any young bucks, no deer. Access, stand location, hands down, once I figured that out, I've been taking down some real nice bucks. Super critical, not talked about enough in my opinion. You get that figured out, you're gonna take down more and bigger deer. Let's get to number 3. All right, guys, number 3 on my list. The third thing you can do to help you take down that biggest buck in your area this year is don't over pressure or over hunt your land you hunt or your stands. Basically, don't over pressure your land. over pressuring or over hunting, unless you're hunting public and you can bounce around a lot. If you're hunting private ground like me, I've hunted public before. I've shot some nice bucks. Now I'm fortunate enough to hunt 2 family farms that I hunt. And especially if you have smaller properties, guys. Hey, if you got a couple thousand acres in Iowa, you got 10 farms you hunt like some of these guys. Hunt this stand this day, go to the next farm the next day, go to that farm the next day. But if you're like me, you got just a couple acres to hunt, 1 or 2 real small farms, you better not be over pressuring, or you're not going to be taking down nice bucks. You might get lucky your first sit, second sit, and take down those deer. I used to over pressure. My first couple years hunting, I had some real big bucks on camera, and I'd see those 2, even 3-year-old deer, 1.5 years, lots of does. I'd see them. God, why can't I see these big bucks? They never come out. They're strictly nocturnal. Come up with excuses. Must be nocturnal. You know, come up with all the excuses you want. But in other words, I was way over hunting, and I was hunting way too close. My access wasn't good. My exit wasn't good. My stand location was too intrusive. I did hunt the peak days, you know, so at least I had that going for me. But I was way over hunting. I'm sure I was burning out my stands. They were smelling me. And, you know, little did I know, the old saying, you can't kill them from the couch. You better get out there. The more you sit, the better your chances. I don't know who thought of that. And that might be the way to hunt if you're hunting does or little bucks. But if you're hunting big bucks and you don't have thousands of acres, 10 farms in Iowa to hunt, you got to be a lot more strategic and pick your days wisely. And pick those peak days to hunt, or those peak cold fronts. I've seen it, guys. Cold fronts are the real deal. Those big boys get on their feet a lot sooner on those big cold fronts. So wait for those peak days, peak rut days, pre-rut, rut. Wait for those big cold fronts. Let your cameras tell you if you got some daylight or real close to daylight, it's time if you got a big cold front. And if you're in that pre-rut, October 21st here in the Midwest, it's time. You know, don't, just because bow season opens and the season's open doesn't mean you got to run to your stand. Wait for those peak days, don't over pressure, and your success rate at taking down big deer is going to go way up. I've been seeing the big velvet picks, these velvet giants. I don't get a lot of those picks. I have fall properties. Like I said, I have real small properties. I set them up for fall hunting. I don't care where the deer are in the summer, because they come to my properties every September and October. They make that shift, and I'll have the big bucks move in from 1 to 4 miles away, from what I've heard, just talking with some neighbors and stuff. Those deer shift, and they come to my properties in the fall, and that's what's important. Doesn't matter where they are in the summertime. If you can hold them in the fall when it's hunting season, those peak days, when the pre-rut is on, that's what matters. So now every time someone takes down big deer, at least by me, real giant deer, everyone says, oh, I got lucky. Sit in a stand, gotta get lucky, right? Well, there's obviously a little luck involved, but I'm a firm believer. Right back there, that's gonna be my oats and some brassica food plot right back there. And I don't have a stand anywhere back here. It goes to one of my stand placement back there, off the food plot. Trail leading to the food plot is what I hunt. I don't hunt, this is a sanctuary. Sanctuary food plot, sanctuary scrapes. I have cameras back here. Every buck within a 3-mile radius I'll have on this camera right here. Field edge with some corn back here. Got drowned out a lot of it, but sanctuary back here. Deer feel safe. I never come back here. I'm not hunting over it. So these tips are gonna help you guys be a lot more successful. And I hope you guys learned something. And please like and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already, share the channel. I got all kinds of food plot stuff. I'm gonna be putting in a lot of oats, which if you guys have seen my oats videos, I'll take them over brassica any day here in Wisconsin. I've done side-by-side comparison. I'm gonna do some more this year. I am gonna try some different brassica mixes. I've had a few food plot companies reach out to me. I'm gonna try some different things. But I love my oats, guys. Can't go wrong with oats for September through December, even into January attraction. Oats are easy, they're shade tolerant, they grow in almost any soil. I'm gonna be putting a lot of them in this year. So I got some oats videos coming. So please subscribe so you get notifications of that, and share the channel with someone. I've been doing this for about a year. I've gained a pretty good following, so I thank you guys. I'm not trying to sell you nothing, just sharing my passion of chasing big deer with you guys. And if you love chasing big bucks, think about it almost every day, this is the channel for you. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next week.